Okay, so we're now live. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and minimize my screen, so if you guys have a question and I don't answer quickly, just kind of chime in if you want to. I'm going to be switching from screen to screen, so I may not see your question. I see Kai said that it's 13 degrees. Oh my gosh. Wind chill is below 6. That's just crazy. I couldn't do it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thanks for joining me on today's class. We're going to go over slice and weld. I don't know if you've seen that I posted a Chevron letter because someone was asking how to do it, and then others were commenting on where to go to purchase the SVG. And that's great if you want to purchase it. I just like to show you guys just so that you don't have to go out and buy it. You can learn how to do it yourself. And it does take some time, and if you're not familiar with slice and weld, it is glitchy. You know, I'm sure you've come across glitches in Cricut Design Space, and using slice and weld doesn't help any. So bear with me on what I'm working on because of the fact that I'm on Google Hangouts. I think it might bog it down just a little bit, but hopefully it does okay. Does anybody have any questions to start? I'm just going to go over, like I said, how to slice and weld pretty easy. I wanted to give an example. I have a cupcake on here, and that's actually what I'm going to start out with on how to do. That's the reason why I wanted to share my entire screen, because I wanted to show you a picture of an invitation that I did using weld and slice. And I'm going to have to switch back so that you can see it. So just one moment. Okay, here we go. Let me know if you could see it. It's a picture of a cupcake, and it's a card that's opened. Can y'all see it? Okay. All right, so this image here, or this cupcake is, I'm going to switch back here so we can go back to Design Space. I just wanted to show you what it looked like opened. So, one moment, switch back here. Okay. Okay, hopefully you can see my Design Space screen. So this cupcake here was an image that I purchased, you know, just through one of the cartridges. And I didn't want to use, I don't like the way it is, just the little heart at the top. I didn't really want to go for that look, so I just thought, okay, well, I could just slice that top off and kind of alter it to how I want it to look. So this is the example I'm going to show you guys. I'm actually going to mute anybody that's not muted. If you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself, but just so that there's no background noise. Okay, so this image here is just the way it is. That's how I pulled it in. And it has all these different layers going on here. So I'm going to ungroup this. And then I can move around the pieces. So this here I don't need. I'm going to delete that. Okay, so I deleted that one little heart, but when I choose this one here, I do want this bottom part of the cupcake, but I don't want the top part. And because it's one layer, you can see in my layers panel that that top part of that heart, or that yellow heart, is part of that image. So I'm going to right click it, or you can use your layers panel up here at the top, and I'm going to use hide contour. And I'm going to choose this one here because I don't want it. So I'm going to double click out of it and it goes away. So I'm going to use this one as, since I just showed you the picture of what the card looked like open, what I did was I used this bottom part as like a cupcake liner, and so I duplicated it, and then I It's kind of hard to just show you on the screen like this, but I glued the sides down, and then I inserted the card inside that way, and then you can pull it out. So I needed these two pieces here. I'm going to move these down. Okay, now this one here, the pink one, you can see the little scalloped lines. That's going to cut just to show you where this layer goes. It kind of gives you a guide to where, you know, to place that one when you're piecing them together. But I don't want that there. Oh, this keeps grabbing this. It's grabbing it because I guess it still feels that part that I hid at the top, the little yellow heart. Sometimes whenever you do hide contour, it still looks at the image as a whole. I don't know. Anyways, so let's scoop these way over. Okay, so I'm going to use the hide contour on this as well, and I'm going to click on these little, oops. You know what you can do instead of that? Sometimes it's a little time consuming to hide each of those little scallops. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these pieces here, like a rectangle or some type of shape. I'm going to bring it to the front, and I'm just going to weld these pieces together just to save me time on doing the hide contour for each of those little scallops. So welding it just took it away. Okay, now I'm going to use another rectangle. I'm going to have several of these going on because I'm going to be welding and slicing different things. So this is the part here that I didn't want. So I'm just going to click on this one, hold my shift key down, and click on the cupcake. And then here's my slice, and I'm going to slice that part off. Okay. There's that. And then what I did was I put a bigger heart at the top and I welded them together. So let's ungroup these because there's two layers here. I just need one. Okay, and then I clicked these two and I welded those two. Let me get rid of these. Okay, and then if you remember that card, it flipped down, it opened up, and what I did was I rotated, or I mirrored this one, or flipped it, and then I welded these two together. And then I added a score line. So let's weld these. And then you can add a score line right here so that it flips up. And here's some text that I can add to it. If you want to do like a card, you can say something that uses like cupcake as a reference. I'm going to flip back to my other screen really quick because I hear some background noise, so just one moment. Okay. All right, so this text here, I want it to write with a pen. I guess I ungrouped these because it looks like they're all individually. I don't remember doing that. Let's delete that and let me add another text line. Okay, so we'll just make sure that we change this to right. And then you can change the ink color just so that you could see it. And then select these two and attach. So that's one way to use Slice and Weld on how to alter something that was already there and kind of change it to make it look however you wanted it to look. There may be a lot of images out there that you kind of like the way it looks, but it's not really what you're going for. You can always tweak it just by slicing and adding your own different images to it and welding them together. Does anybody have any questions on that so far? I know I went through that pretty quickly.
Can I ask how you did the score line?
You know what? I didn't even add the score line in there. I was kind of just talking through it, but let me go ahead and do that. So I go into Insert Image, and I type score line. Oops. Score line, and it's usually the first one that shows up. And it says free. And there's a score line, so I'll add that in there. Okay, let's bring over this edit panel. You can rotate it this way. I like to use this. I don't even know what to call it. It looks like a little dial, and I just flip it to automatically be horizontal, and then I just drag it over. It's a little bit shorter than what I need it, so I just need to make it a little bit longer, like that. And then you select the score line and also select the image that you want to score. And then come right over here to your layers panel and click attach, or you can right click and click attach that way. And now it'll score that part. Any other questions? Okay, let me flip back because I don't know if anybody's chatting. Okay, if you guys also see somebody sends me a chat and I haven't answered it, if you don't mind being on talking through the mic, you can just let me know that someone has a question out there, and then I really appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to move this over. We're done with that one. These are other images that like I said, I went ahead and inserted all kinds of different shapes just to show you how to use the slice and weld. I also have a video on how to use slice and weld for like a Valentine's Day card. And what I did was I inserted different types of hearts and welded them together. So let's take this heart and duplicate it several times. And then we can change the shape, change the rotation. If you wanted to do some type of like border, you can make your own little border. I'm going to highlight all of these and I'm going to duplicate them just so that I don't have to keep adding. Something like that. And then you can select all of them and click on weld. When you use weld, you can weld more than one image together. But when you use slice, you can only use one image at a time. Well, let's reword that. Your images can only be one layer. And when you use weld, they can be as many layers and as many images at a time. This star here, when I pulled it in from Design Space, this is from one of the cartridges. It's just two stars that are grouped together. But let's say you just wanted that outline of the star. You can do that by slicing. So I'm going to click on Slice. And now you have just the outline of the star. And if you wanted to do something, some type of little design with another little star, then these two you can weld together. So what I do, I see a lot of times the less commands that you do, the easier it is for Design Space to run. So I usually don't use group. Grouping is just to kind of move all your images together. Grouping isn't going to do anything to it. It's just kind of visual. So what I could do if I needed all these images to be moved, instead of grouping them and then moving them and then ungrouping them later because I need to rearrange them, what I do is I just highlight or drag a box around all 4 of these. They're all selected, and I just move them. I didn't group them, but I was still able to move them. So once you unclick on them, then they're separate. You don't have to click ungroup and regroup. That's usually what I do to kind of just get my images together to move them around. I just highlight all of them and then move them around. Okay, let's move these out of the way. Does anybody have any questions so far on what I've used on Slice? Okay, so using this circle, I'm just going to use a Mickey Mouse as an example because that's pretty easy. That's another way to weld. Let's say you didn't have a Mickey cartridge, or, I mean, it's very easy to go to Google and just pull out, you know, Mickey Mouse head from Google and insert it, you know, upload it and do all of that, but it's also really easy just to kind of create your own. So I'm going to duplicate these 2 more times. Let's use this one because I've already sized it down to like the ear size, and then duplicate that one. Put that right over here, and then select all these 3 and click on Weld. And then you can change the color. See, where did it go? I don't even see my layer. There it is. Okay, now I can change it to black. So when I think of Weld, I think of you're taking different images and you're kind of melting them together. And then when I think of Slice, I look at it as being like a cookie cutter, because you're just, you know, just think of this image here as being, you know, the dough, the cookie dough, and this is your cookie cutter. So I'm going to bring this image to the front to slice through this. And then if you wanted to get this piece out too, you would probably need to use that other star, which I did. Oh, here it is. Just need to make it bigger. So just depending on whatever you slice is going to look exactly like the image that you're using to slice. So this piece would actually cut out. So if you needed it gone, once it's cut out of paper or vinyl, then you wouldn't have to worry about it. But it might look like to you like, oh, I don't need that middle star in there. Well, it's going to cut, so you can remove that. Another thing I wanted to point out is when using attach, sometimes when you're using the slice feature and it doesn't work correctly for you, you can also use attach. Depending on what the look that you're going for, attach will basically do the same thing. It's just not gonna, you're not gonna be able to remove the image out of the way. But I know that there's been some cases where I wanted to like slice out. I'm gonna give you an example. Say I was doing a card and I wanted the words to slice out of my card. So let's add some text here. And I'm going to change this because it's a very thin font, so I want it to be a little bit wider than that. Okay, so I'm going to select the 2 and slice. And now I can remove this image out. But like I said, sometimes if it's giving you some issues, you're getting the spinning wheel of death, or it's, you know, giving you plug-in errors, whatever the case may be, you can also just, I'm going to undo all of this, just select both of them and then click on attach. And I can't remove the word, but it's still going to cut the way I want it to if I had used slice. So that's another option to do if you wanted, you know, for some reason slice wasn't working for you. Now if I needed to use the slice to take off something, let's say I didn't need this part of the ear. There's a like a bunny. I know during Easter there's like a chocolate bunny. It looks like a chocolate candy bunny that has the bite taken out of the ear. That would be really cute to do. I'm going to use that example for this Mickey Mouse. But if you duplicated these circles and just kind of, used these as kind of making your bite mark, you can do it that way. And you know, attach will work as well, but sometimes it's, let me move these pieces out. Attach, it's kind of hard to explain. I'm trying to see on paper, if I were to do attach and I attach these, then it's going to cut your paper more than what you need it to do. I don't know if that kind of makes sense. But this is eliminating that cut line to come out this way. But like I said, it's still, you could still use attach if for some reason the slice isn't working very well for you. So you could just move this here, trying to create a bite mark look. Anyways, you get the point. If I did one more, it would kind of look like a bite. So that's another way to do slice, just kind of altering that image. Let's see what else. Any questions? Okay, I'm flipping back over to my other screen. Sorry. Okay, so y'all had some questions. Okay, so Jean had a question. If the word slice doesn't appear at the top, what have I done wrong? I actually brought in several of these shapes in because some of the shapes don't slice for some weird reason. Let me see. I don't know if I've come across where I inserted a text and it didn't slice. It may have been what you were trying to slice that wasn't working for you. Usually all text will slice. I'm going to insert some circles back in here and show you that some of the circles don't work, which is weird. I could tell you this one here I know for a fact doesn't work, and watch it work for me today. But normally I use this pink one here because it's always worked for me. So let's use this as an example. I'm just going to slice a little circle from inside that heart. And let me select the two. Let's make sure we're looking at our layers panel here to see if the slice shows that it's available. And it does. I told you it's going to work for me. But yeah, there's been many times where it doesn't work, and I just recommend just keep trying different, because there's several circles out there, there's several squares, rectangles, stars. Just try different ones and see how it works, because I know that that's always helped others that have tried certain images and they're not working, but then they'll try a different one that's pretty similar and it works. I couldn't tell you why it's that way. I don't even know if Cricut is aware that it's happening, but I've come across it plenty of times. Let me try to add some text and see. I know that other one just worked fine whenever I did happy. Let's try a Cricut font, because the fonts that I'm using are ones that I've downloaded from, you know, font websites. So let's try just the regular Cricut alphabet. Okay, it's available for me there. But yeah, like I said, if you're having issues with certain fonts or certain shapes, just try a different font or a different shape and see if it works. I hope that answered your question. Okay, Kai, when I am cutting vinyl, I draw a rectangle around my image and attach it to make reading easier. That is a good idea. That, or you can even use like a a utility knife and even cut around once it's already cut. And that makes it a lot easier too. You're welcome, Jean. Okay. Okay, I'm just trying to get through all these shapes to see if I've kind of covered everything I wanted to cover for that. There's a lot of, especially on Make It Now projects, or just some of the 3D projects that are out there on different cartridges. If you're wanting to do, let's say, a little cupcake box, usually the cupcake boxes already have a window at the top so that you can see through what's inside the box. But Slice is a really good feature for a shape that maybe doesn't have a window, for you to cut out a window out of. Trying to think. I think it'll take me more time if I try. I'm trying to think of a cartridge that has one of those boxes, but you know, just kind of showing you an example for here. Let's say this is the top of the box and it didn't have a window. You know, of course, you can add a circle on top of that to slice it, and then create a window, and then you could put acetate or some type of vellum or something right in here, just so that you can have, or not vellum because you can't really see through that, but some type of clear material that you can see through to see whatever's inside that box. And there's lots of pretty shapes, scalloped circles, all kinds of stuff that you can make pretty windows out of. Okay. Another example I wanted to give, which I'm going to do a tutorial on separately, just because this particular chevron letter that I did has quite a bit of slices and welds to it. So I didn't want to take up too much time with this in case I did run into some glitches. But I did want to show you that this chevron shape or this design that I got, I just pulled it from Google. I just looked up Chevron Pattern and pulled up a chevron pattern. I uploaded it using basic upload, and then I cleaned up the white areas to give me this look. Actually, it was half of it, so what I did was I duplicated it, I added it right underneath it, and then I attached the two to get this, and then you can kind of, depending on how you want the chevron to look, you can stretch it to your liking. And then what I did was you need to use, for right now, since there's not an offset feature yet for Cricut Design Space, I know that we will be getting it, I believe, the first quarter of the year. I don't know when exactly, but in the meantime, since there's no offset, I needed to use a font that had a layer. And so this font here is Birthday Bash, and that's a Cricut font. So any fonts that you have downloaded from tofont.com or FontSpace, wherever you get your fonts from, are not going to have that second layer. Or you can create your offset in a different software, which would be like Inkscape. But for this example, I'm just using a Cricut font. So I went ahead and I duplicated it because I'm going to need several of these pieces. But what I did was I ungrouped it. I'm going to change these colors so it's a little bit easier to see what's going on. Okay, so I used the shadow layer, the back layer, to cut, you know what, I think I used this layer. Okay, sorry for the confusion, but it did take me several times to work on it to get the exact look I was going for. If you've used Slice or Weld before, especially if you're trying to split a letter or split a Regal font, something that has a lot of different, it's a little bit complex, the design. Your slices more than likely are not going to be perfect. You're going to have some weird things going on. It's not the way you want it to look. So you have to just kind of move it around in a different area, try it again. Or, you know, just kind of change up the way that you do things. And hopefully I come across that so that you can see, oh, okay, that's how she did it. Okay, this is what I need to do. So let's take this top layer here, and I'm going to use it to slice to get that chevron design in the S shape. So I'm going to click on the S, so that's highlighted, and hold my shift key down, and then click on the chevron pattern. And you know what? The slice is not even showing up for me. So that is my luck. Let's see. I'm trying to think what font I use. So this is a good example for Eugene, because obviously this font isn't working for me. Let me try a different way. I'm going to bring the chevron pattern to the front, and then I'll select the two this way. Let's see. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes I have to flip things around. Nope, that's not working either. Okay. Let me just try a completely different font. Okay, that one doesn't have a shadow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up all Cricut fonts. I think I have too many things going on here. Let me delete all of this stuff because I have too many layers to weed through all this to find my font. Okay, so this one doesn't have a shadow either. I cannot for the life of me remember which font I used. Okay, that's the one I had. Birthday Bash. Cake Basics. Why do these not have shadows? Maybe because I deleted it. I don't know. What did I do? Bear with me. Okay, let's restart this. Add text. Okay. There's a shadow. I might have deleted it or something. Okay, let's duplicate it first. And then ungroup it. And then we're going to use this top one here to slice. Hopefully it works. No, I don't think it's liking my chevron piece maybe. But this is the exact one that I used earlier today. Okay, I can tell you that there's a chevron pattern in Cricut Design Space. The reason why I didn't use it is because I didn't really, to me it was a little bit too, I wanted the chevron to be a little bit more arched, which you can get that look if you squeeze it a little bit. I remember what the issue was. Because I had to squeeze it to the look I was going for, I needed to duplicate it and weld it together. I didn't like that this border here was going to be messing up with my my design. But okay, we'll just use this one. Let's see if this one works. Send this to the back. And if it doesn't work, I don't know what to tell you guys. Okay, there's slice. You kind of just have to eye it and see what's going to look, because it's so flat to me. It's not arched, and because this letter is not very thick, the main purpose is for you to get that chevron look inside of that S. So let's go ahead and slice it and see what it looks like. But what I was going to tell you is just kind of eye where you're placing it. Sometimes if it's off, I don't know, it's just very picky. You just have to see how it slices, and if it doesn't work, undo it and move it around just a little bit. Oh, that actually sliced pretty well. Okay. Alright, so now we have two pieces. One's the regular, one's the negative. You just kind of have to see which one's going to look better. All right, so now we have the S there, right? But we need that border to kind of close up the edges. So that's why I have this one here. Okay, so I ungroup them, but I need to slice them. So I needed to ungroup them in order to have this one, the gray one, slicing through the black one. So I ungroup them. Now I'm going to select both of them and slice. Okay, and it looks like it went away, but it didn't. Just change the color to the back layer. Just move this out of the way. And then we'll drag this up here, see if that one looks okay or this one looks okay. It's up to you. Okay, so once you have those two, make sure that the edges are touching, the edges of the chevron or whatever pattern you're using is touching the edge of the one you're welding to, because if it's a little bit off, you see these spaces here, it's not going to weld very pretty. It's going to probably be a mess. So let's cross our fingers and hope that this welds the way we want it to. And it did. So then you can change that. See, I'm losing my layers here. Let's bring this to the front. Usually when you arrange for something to be at the front or the back, it'll bring that layer to the very top, but I'm not seeing it up here. I don't know. Okay. So there's that S. So we got that done. Then I was also going to show you how to split it. I'm going to switch back. I've been talking for a long time. I don't even know if there's questions out there. Okay, thanks, Pamela. Okay, so now we're going to split it. See how there's just so many steps here, but it's possible. You just have the patience. That's why I hope that you trust me to kind of do the steps for you, and then I teach it to you, and then hopefully it'll be easier for you than it is for me. Okay, so for me to get that slice right in here, I'm going to add a rectangle. Okay, I'm going to add two different ones just in case one gives me a problem versus the other. Okay. So I'm going to do this purposely because I feel like hopefully it makes sense if you see my mistakes. What I've learned or what I've noticed, and watch it again work for me when it's not supposed to, I'm going to weld this to the S. What I do normally now is I slice first. But let's try weld and see what it does. So I'm going to weld this to the S. And that looks ugly. That's not how it's supposed to weld. That looks like I sliced it, or, you know, it just didn't work. You can try it again, move it maybe to another area, try it again. But normally when you're going to slice, you want to slice right in the middle, or you want that split right in the middle. So let's try slice. And then I'll show you how to get that border for the middle part. If this gives me a problem, we'll try it a different way. See, that's probably not going to work either. Let's try and move these out. You know what? It worked fine. It looks like that didn't slice right, but just kind of move your images out of the way and see if it worked, because it did. It just didn't look right. So there's the slice, and then I'm going to use two more rectangles to create that border. So what I do is I just kind of size it to how you want it, how thin you want it, how thick you want it, and then when I have the right look, I duplicate it and then place that right here. If you don't have your grid lines on, this is a little button to put your grid lines on. I don't normally go off of my grid lines because I still may be a little bit off. But if you want to align these perfectly, make sure that these edges are, you know, right where they need to be, go ahead and look at your edit panel here and look at the position, the X and the Y. If I select this one here, this is telling me that it's 0.29. right? That's where this edge is hitting at 0.29. This one is at 0.31. So you can tell that this is a little bit off. So if I change this to 0.29, did y'all see that? I don't know. It's very tiny, but it scooted it just a tad bit over. So now they're aligned. So I'm going to select all of these. Just drag a box. You can select them by holding the Shift key, however you want to use to select all of them. And click on Weld. I can tell here that the cuts are a little bit off. The cuts are going to be a little bit off here. That was my fault when I welded them together. I probably didn't place it just right. Me having it in black, I couldn't really see that. Now that it's in a different color, I can. So it's up to, you know, just kind of make sure that everything's touching. I just didn't do a very good job of that. But here's your split letter. Now you can add, you know, whatever text you want on the inside. And then you're done with that. Does anybody have any questions? Kai, you wish you had known this before you did a Christmas cutting board? Oh, sorry. Well, now you know.
I have a question.
Yes.
So when you're doing the weld, in order to get everything to work together, you have to use the Shift key and select everything. Is that correct?
It's up to you whether you want to use Shift or Control, or even just the way I had. You see how I'm dragging a box around the items. However, whatever way you want to use, there's different ways to use in order for you to select several items. You can either use Control, Shift, or you can just, you know, simply drag a box around whatever you're working with and click on Weld, Slice. Yeah, there's just different ways to do it.
Okay. May I ask one more question?
Sure.
I sort of joined a little bit late, so I missed perhaps the beginning when you were working on the slice part. I thought that I had read you had to have everything be the same color to be able to slice.
No.
Okay.
No. Go ahead.
So it doesn't have to be the same color, but you just put it together sort of like on the same mat, I guess, then. And then you can get the weld or the slice feature. Because I was working on something and I was having a really difficult time, and I'm just happy to see, not happy, but was fortunate to see that you were also having trouble. Sometimes the slice is there and sometimes it isn't.
Okay. Now I could explain to you on that. I mean, I don't have an answer as to why they're not working, but there are certain images in Design Space, or even some images that you've pulled from the internet, that just, the software just doesn't like it. It just does not want to slice. So I was just recommending to, if you're using a star, you know, some type of basic shape that you know that there's different other circles out there, or, you know, rectangles, just when you're pulling in your images and you know you're going to be slicing with the circle, pull in 2 or 3 circles from Design Space and try each one, because it's just very picky. It's just, some of them it works fine and some of them they don't work at all. And one of my examples, I knew for a fact that one of them wasn't going to work, and it worked. So it's just not, you know, it's just very picky. I don't know, and I know that they're working on it. I don't know how long it's going to be until they fix that, but yeah, there is some glitches, and it doesn't have anything to do with color. It's just maybe the shape that you're using.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions? That was basically all I wanted to cover, in that we have about 15 minutes till 8, or till my time. So I want to open it up to you guys. It doesn't have to be covering slice or weld. It can be something else that you're working on and you're having some issues. Please feel free to chime in with your questions, and I'll be happy to try and help you.
Excuse me.
Yes?
I wasn't able to get in until now. It kept telling me that the chat was full. Will we be able to see this at another time in a recording?
Yes, this is actually being recorded, so as soon as the class is done, it'll be posted on YouTube, and I'll also post it on my Facebook page. And I'm surprised that it's saying that, because the Google Hangouts that I'm using, there is no limit to attendees. So,
several of us have been posting on your page ever since 8 o'clock because we could not get in, and it only showed 10 people, but it would not let us in, and then I just kept pushing, and someone must have left and I got in.
Oh, wow. Okay, I need to look into that.
Yeah, there's many of us that could not get in tonight.
Oh, no. Yeah, I don't have my Facebook page open because I didn't want all the chimes to be coming in.
Yeah, I understand, and I just thought I'd tell you because I was hoping there was a way I could look at a video.
Yeah, no, it'll be out there. I apologize. Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. It's not supposed to limit anybody from coming into the class. So thanks for telling me. Yeah. Wait, did you have any questions? I can maybe
start over, please.
Let me see. Did you have questions on slides or just both?
Yeah, it was Slice. Well, I haven't really had any problems with Cricut, but I haven't really tried Slice.
Okay. Well, I can give you some examples. I've deleted a lot of the examples I've done so far, but I can redo it. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I'm just inserting a couple of basic shapes, and then I'm also going to type in some text here. Okay, I'm just going to duplicate this so I have more shape to work with. But as far as using slice, what you want to do is you want to make sure that the image that you're using to slice, which is going to be like the image that you're using to to cut through, which is like your dough, your cookie dough, are both one layer.
Okay.
Even if it has, like for example, this pink one here, I have it highlighted. You can see that there's a second layer, but it's hidden, and that's fine. As long as it's hidden, you're still going to be able to slice. You don't have to unhide it and delete it.
Oh, okay.
Just make sure. So if I unhid it and then I try to slice, it's not going to allow me. So just make sure that you have one layer here and one layer here. And you're going to select the two. You can either select it by selecting that one here, by clicking on it, and then holding your Shift key or your Control key, or Command, depending on what you're working with if you're using Mac. So select both of those. How come it's not letting me? There we go. Then you can look over, because sometimes it's kind of hard to tell, well, do I have them both selected? Just look at your layers panel, and when they're grayed out like that, you can tell that they're selected.
Oh.
And once you do that, so I'm gonna unclick on it, off of it, so you can see. So my circle, this first circle, the pink one, is selected, and you can see that the slice option isn't available because I don't have two images to slice yet. So when I select both of those, now you can see slice is available. So you can click on slice, and it's going to change your color. Sometimes that confuses people, like, well, what did it do? It usually changes to the color that you're slicing. So I sliced this back circle, it changed to that color. Just slide that out of the way, and now you have your, your cutout here.
Okay.
Same thing if you're using text. If you wanted the word happy to cut out of your card, you're going to select the text and also select the image that you're slicing and slice. And then it's going to change to pink. And that's been cut out.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And you're welcome. There's other things. I mean, you can do slides for so many things. You know, just changing up an image that had an extra piece on there that maybe it was too long or it just didn't look right. You know, whatever. Just take any type of image and kind of see where you want to cut it and select the two. And so let's say I didn't want that corner piece there, or you needed, let's say you needed something that looked like a pizza. You know, there's just so many different ways to use slice.
It looks easy.
This looks like Pac-Man. Yeah, it is. The main concern or the issue that I've been seeing is just, you know, slicing and welding sometimes just bogs up your computer, and sometimes it's not possible. Or depending on the complexity of the image, like this one here, if I try to slice this word through it, let's try and see if it works. No, that's not going to work for me. I was having issues with this one, which is weird because I used this in a tutorial that or I didn't do a tutorial yet, but I had posted a picture of an image that I did. I created this with this, and it's not working for me now, but it worked for me earlier today. So it's just very glitchy on you know, picking on what will work and what will not work. So I was just recommending just try different shapes, try different patterns, you know, whatever works. But hopefully Cricut gets that fixed, because it can be very annoying, you know, if you're in a hurry. I don't have time to look for another pattern. But yeah, that's just kind of what I've been dealing with so far, and I've been pretty patient. So yeah, just patience. That'll help too, because sometimes when you're so frustrated, you just want to give up. But for this S, I kept trying and trying, and I actually got the look I was going for. So
I saw that on your site earlier today.
oh, okay, yeah, that's the one. This is the one that I used. I used this pattern, and it worked just fine. But for this lesson, it's not working for me, so I had to use a different one.
When they bring out that new app, do you think some of these problems will be taken care of in that?
I think, I don't know if it was Melody or who it was. I know they have videos out there because they have the beta version, and so they can actually work on it right now. And I think there was only a glitch or two that they've come across, but not as much as what we're experiencing on like a PC.
Yeah.
So to me, it sounds like it's better. And I saw it too. I mean, I was at the Dallas meet and greet, and they did the demo of it, and it looks awesome. I mean, it does a little bit more features than what what we can do now.
Well, I have an iPad, and I guess I'll be using it more than my PC.
Yeah. The only thing that's going to be that you will need to do on your PC is when you upload images, you upload in your PC, and then you can continue to work from your iPad, and then vice versa. Yeah, so you won't be able to upload any images from your iPad. You need to have your images already in your project. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but I believe that's what it. I think because it's kind of hard. Yeah. Where do you save it? It's kind of, it's kind of hard to download it.
This has been helpful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions? What's everybody working on so far? You working on any of those EOS Valentine stuff? That's pretty popular.
Today I was practicing linking all together with my my fonts. I just wanted to really master the Weld because I knew how to do it in the craft room and it was so easy. So I was really playing with it today. Oh,
okay. Good. I have a lot of things on my list that I haven't gotten to yet, but being on Facebook takes up too much of my time. I'm looking at all the projects that I want to do, and then I don't get the time to do it. Any other questions?
No.
Can I ask a quick question? Not
sure.
Light and Weld. Where do you get the little stuffed Cricut, Jean?
Can you order that online?
I did.
Okay.
I ordered it online when I was buying something from Cricut before Christmas, and I don't know what got into me, and I went and ordered one, and it's adorable.
It is.
It's
I
at
know
the
some
Cricut store then?
Pardon me?
It's at the Cricut store then?
Yeah, that's where I got it from.
Okay, thank you.
I think one of the months of the mystery box, I think they were sending those out too.
Mm-hmm.
Selena, do you do this every Wednesday, or is it like posted on your page when you are going to do it? This is my first class.
I have been every Wednesday at the same time. There have been some times where I had to cancel because I do commute. I work about an hour and a half away from home, so sometimes based on traffic or an accident, I don't get here in time, so I've had to cancel. But yes, it's every Wednesday. My next class is next Wednesday, and it's going to cover Inkscape, which is a basic tutorial on Inkscape. But
Good.
I will be updating my schedule for the next round of classes, and so I'll update the Facebook page with that. But yes, it will be every Wednesday. I was kind of debating whether I should change it to a weekend, like on Sundays, just because I hate to cancel on people. Because I've had to cancel twice. So I'm still thinking about that, but for the time being, it's every Wednesday.
All right, thank you, and thank you so much for the class.
Oh,
Yes.
you're welcome. You're welcome. Well, if nobody else has any other questions, let me just make sure. Okay. You know where to reach me. You can find me on Facebook and send me a message if you have any problems, throughout the week. I have a lot of people that send me a message, and I'm happy to answer your questions. So until then, I will see you next week. Hopefully you can join me on that class. It's covering how to create your own SVG using coloring pages from Google, and that's in Inkscape.
I will be there, and I will be there early so that I get in this time.
Okay, and if not, like I said, these post on my YouTube page, so if you miss it, you'll still be able to see it.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Good night.
Thanks a
Great.
lot.
Great class tonight.
Thank you, Pam.
All right. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks again.